today for this practice on releasing stress out of the hips. Our hips hold a lot of tension, stress, even trauma. So just really be mindful of how your body feels and find variations as you need to. Zoe is here on a blanket joining me today. So we're going to start with a pose that starts to get into the outer hips a little bit. This is called butterfly pose in yin. So you might sit on a blanket and have the soles of your feet together and make a diamond shape with your legs. So this is a variation of Baddha Konasana with the feet further away from the hips so that we can get into the stretch in the outer hips. So as you start to hinge forward, keep your spine nice and long. You might place your hands on either side of your feet. You can also just sort of have your hands on your feet or ankles. And if you have blocks handy, sometimes those are nice. You can position the blocks, whatever height works for you, and just rest your forearms on the blocks. Another variation, maybe with the blocks higher, is to have your elbows on the blocks, hands in a prayer position, and maybe rest your forehead on the back of your thumbs. So find your variation, and as you come into this pose, invite your hips and legs to really relax and release. Keep your spine long, and if you're using props to support your arms, you might relax your shoulders a little bit, making it a little more yin-like and soft. Keep your spine mostly long, but you can soften into your shoulders. Avoid any forcing or pulling. Just let your feet and legs relax and be nice and soft. Breathe here. If you're not supporting your head with your hands or a prop, you might just slowly have some movement into your head and neck, whatever feels good to you. Move slowly and thoughtfully. And if you would like, you can always move your blocks into a different position, or maybe just set the blocks aside. Maybe you come back onto your hands. You might hold your feet. And as you hold here for a little while, we'll be here for just a couple minutes, lengthen through your spine. You can think of each inhale an opportunity to lengthen through your spine. And as you exhale, just sort of soften and relax into the shape of the pose. This is a great pose to do at the end of your day, before bed. Getting into some of the tightness in the hips, releasing that tension. And it's also great for the low back, encouraging space in between the vertebrae. So we'll be here a few more breaths. Take another breath here. Breathe in through your nose. And maybe a soft sigh. Let it go. And then thoughtfully press your way back upright. You might use your hands to close the knees like a book. Notice sensation in those outer hips. You might come off of your blanket. Set your blocks aside. And maybe coming into a few windshield wipers. So you can lean back on your hands, widen your feet, and just drop your knees over to one side, keeping your feet wide. And then knees come back up and drop your knees over to the other side. And then come to a seat again. You may or may not need a blanket for this one. So we're going to come into a position in Yin. It's called square. And it's similar to sitting cross-legged, but your feet are out closer in line with your knees. So instead of having the feet and ankles close to your hips, your feet are closer under the knees, and your front shin is just about parallel to the front of your mat or blanket. So as you push your feet out towards the opposite knee, you're going to feel those outer hips. Just make sure it feels okay to you. So push your feet out only as far as feels appropriate, and then hinge forward slightly. Notice which leg is in front, and we'll be here for a little while. So if you want more, you can also bring that front shin and foot up over the bottom one, making it double pigeon, or in Yin, fire log pose. Just make sure that ankle doesn't feel like it's getting strained. Sometimes it's just nice to stay in square, which is actually making a triangle with the legs here. So hinging forward. Again, you might use your blocks like little armrests. And relax your feet and ankles. Relax your hips. And notice which leg you have in front. And start with whichever side you're most comfortable with to have for your front leg there. Again, you might just support your arms and keep your neck long. Or you can come up on elbows and bring your hands in a prayer position to support your head. Find your variation. And then again, begin to tune into your breath. Invite your feet and legs to be heavy and soft. Invite your hips to relax and release. Breathe here. If you feel the invitation to take your pose a little deeper, you might lower the position of your blocks or your hands or arms. Maybe just letting your upper body come a little bit further into the pose. But always listen to your body. Never force anything. Watch your breath. Take a few more breaths here. Take a nice full inhale, soft sigh of an exhale, let it go. And then slowly make your way back upright. Thoughtfully unwrap those legs. Notice sensation. If you need a couple windshield wipers before coming into the other side, find your way there. And then position your legs on the other side, other leg in front. And notice how even just coming into this pose on the other side, it might feel really awkward. So again, feet going out towards the opposite knee. And make sure your knees feel okay here. If it's too much, bring your feet a little closer towards each other. If you want more, push the feet out away from each other, making that triangle shape in this pose called square. So again, lengthen through your spine, start to hinge forward. Find your edge of sensation. Again, maybe using blocks under your forearms. You might soften into your upper back and shoulders. Relax your feet and ankles. Relax your legs and hips. And breathe here. If you notice any tension start to build in your body, breathe into those areas and invite them to begin to soften and relax. Softening into your shoulders and upper back. Keep your feet and ankles relaxed. Use each exhale as an invitation to relax and release a little bit deeper. Again, if maybe you want to move your neck or head in a certain way that feels good to you, you might thoughtfully explore some movement there, maybe turning your head side to side. Or you might just be supporting your head with your hands and just keeping your neck neutral. Continue to watch your breath. Invite your hips and legs to be heavy and soft. A few more breaths here. A nice full inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh it out. Let it go. And then thoughtfully make your way back up out of this pose and set your blocks aside. Maybe leaning back onto your hands, widen your legs, and come into a few windshield wipers. Dropping your knees over to one side, and then bringing the knees back up, feet wide. Drop your knees over to the other side. So notice how your hips feel. So we're going to come into another pose for our hips that's a nice stretch. And I'm going to suggest two options. So one in Yin is Swan or Deer pose or supine figure 4 hip stretch. So I'm sitting in Deer right now with one leg internally rotated and the other leg externally rotated. So this just sitting here can be a nice stretch into the hips. If you would like to move into Swan, that front leg that's externally rotated would move towards the front of your mat, and you could take that back leg back. It's like pigeon in a hatha practice. You might stay up on your hands, and it's okay if you're rocking a little bit towards that front hip. Just make sure your knees feel okay. So if this doesn't feel good in your knees, this may not be an option for you. And I'll show you the supine figure 4 hip stretch in a moment that might work better. So again, you might be here in Swan or coming into sleeping Swan, maybe using a block under your head. Or you can support your head with your hands. But if knees complain, a nice variation is to come onto your back, bend your knees, and cross one ankle over your opposite thigh. And then you can lift that foot up, maybe place a block under that foot or just hold behind that thigh and draw that knee and ankle towards you. So find your variation. This figure 4 hip stretch is really great. You can also put that foot on a wall. You could be up against a wall doing the wall figure 4 hip stretch, which is nice as well. And that's in another of my videos you can check out. And the wall yin. So find your variation. I'm going to come back up and do the swan. So whatever position works best for you. If you're in that upright swan, you can feel free to stay there, maybe pressing gently into that outer edge of your front foot, making it a more active pose. This really gets nicely into the upper back, shoulders, as well as the back hip flexor. Or you might really want to relax and come down onto your forearms and support your head, maybe with your hands or a prop. If you're coming into the sleeping swan, really invite your shoulders to soften and relax. And then making your way out of whichever variation you chose and coming into the other side. Again, you might come into deer with the other leg in front, other knee bent. Or if you're on your back for the figure 4 hip stretch, just switch legs, find your variation. If you would like to come into that swan yin variation, like pigeon, bringing that bent front knee forward, positioning yourself where you feel even and where that front knee feels comfortable. Again, listen to your body. Always come onto your back and do that figure 4 hip stretch. Sometimes one knee is more cranky than the other. And you might stay more upright or come into that sleeping swan variation if you're choosing swan. Sometimes I like to do a little bit of both, being more upright at the beginning, engaging through the legs and the upper back and shoulder girdle, pressing into the outer edge of that front foot, really activating through the legs, even feeling like the hips are lifted up off the mat slightly. And then when you've had enough action, lower down onto your forearms if you're doing that swan variation. Again, maybe supporting your head or keeping your neck neutral. And whichever variation you've chosen, just breathe. Notice your breath. Breathing in and out through your nose. And anytime you feel so inspired, those soft sighs of an exhale to encourage a little bit deeper release. And then thoughtfully, if you're in sleeping swan, begin to press yourself back upright. Come out of whatever pose you've been doing and straighten your legs out in front of you. Pause for a moment. Notice how you feel. So if you would like a forward fold here, like a Paschimottanasana, or in Yin, it's a caterpillar, it might feel nice. Listen to your body, whatever movement your body is wanting here. And then thoughtfully lay down for your Shavasana. So make sure you feel comfortable. You might place a blanket over your hips or under your head. Let your whole body relax and release, assimilating the work we did into the hips. Notice sensation. Invite your whole body to relax and soften and let go. Gently bring your awareness back to being on your mat. Notice your body. Notice your breath. And observe your mind. Notice any sensations or energy moving through your body. And whenever you feel ready, begin to make small movements. Wiggle your fingers, your toes, whatever would delight you. And eventually bend one knee and then the other, transitioning over to one side. And then thoughtfully press your way back up to a comfortable seat. With appreciation for your awareness and your focus, perhaps bring your hands together at your heart. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for this practice for our hips. If you like this, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Check out some of the other videos, and I hope to see you next time on the mats.